Watch a lion in a zoo enclosure long enough and you'll see it. 15 steps. Turn. 15 steps back. The same worn track, scraped into the same patch of dirt, walked for hours, every day, for years. For decades, everyone who saw it called it the same thing. Bored. Here's what should stop you. That's probably wrong. New research on captive animal welfare says the lion likely isn't bored at all. It's something worse. Chronic stress, a nervous system with nowhere to put itself. Real boredom, the thing sitting in your chest right now if you've ever waited for a bus with a dead phone, requires something the lion doesn't have. The ability to imagine a better way to spend the next 10 minutes and know, painfully, that you're not getting it. Look across every species on this planet, and only one of them reliably does that. You. By the end of this, you'll know why, and why it might be the most human thing about you. Start with what boredom actually is, because it isn't what you think. Psychologist John Eastwood at York University spent years pinning the feeling down. His 2012 definition, published in Perspectives on Psychological Science. Boredom is the awareness that you want to be engaged in something satisfying, combined with the inability to do it. Not emptiness, not calm. A specific, aversive, wanting feeling. Now go looking for it in the animal kingdom. A crocodile can lie motionless for days, waiting for something to swim close enough to kill. No restlessness, no searching. A desert-dwelling bullfrog can seal itself in dried mud for months. Some species for years. Waiting out a drought and surface showing no sign of distress. A sloth spends up to 20 hours a day essentially still, and by every measure researchers have, it is fine. A Galapagos tortoise can live past 150 years old, doing most days almost nothing. Even a species as intelligent as the octopus, capable of solving puzzles, recognizing individual humans, escaping sealed tanks, shows no evidence of seeking novelty for its own sake. When there's nothing to hunt, it simply waits. Even elephants, dolphins, crows, chimpanzees only start showing anything resembling restlessness in one specific condition: captivity. Never in the wild, doing nothing on an ordinary afternoon. Which means something stranger is true. You don't need a cage. You can be sitting in your own living room, free, safe, fed, and still feel it. The wanting, the pressure, the sensation of nothing is happening and it is unbearable. No bars required, the cage is internal. So why would evolution build that? Here's the leading theory, and it comes from foraging behavior. The oldest survival math there is. An animal exploiting a resource, a fruit tree, a hunting ground, eventually strips it bare. The smart move is to leave before it's empty and find the next one. That circuitry runs on the same reward pathways in humans and far simpler animals alike. But in a brain large enough to model its own future, that simple foraging alarm got rewired into something enormous. Philosopher Andreas Elpidoru, in a 2014 paper in Frontiers in Psychology, argues boredom evolved as a signal to abandon an unrewarding situation and pursue something meaningful. Not a flaw. A function built to keep restless hominins moving across a savanna that punished anyone who sat still too long. The savanna is gone. The alarm isn't. There's a second piece to why the lion still can't feel this. Cognitive scientists call it mental time travel, imagining a specific, better version of right now, and feeling the gap. Most animals live entirely inside the current moment. You didn't just inherit the alarm, you inherited the imagination that arms it. In 2014, a team led by Timothy Wilson ran an experiment that should not have worked the way it did. They put people alone in a bare room for 15 minutes. No phone, no book, nothing but their own thoughts. Then gave them a button. Press it, feel a real electric shock they'd already rated as unpleasant. Or sit, undisturbed, and do nothing. 67% of the men pressed the button. One man pressed it 190 times. They chose pain over 15 minutes of empty time. No other species on Earth would make that trade. You will find a way to hurt yourself just to feel something happen. You're doing a smaller version of it right now. In 2010, Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert at Harvard pinged over 2,000 people at random moments and asked what they were doing and how happy they were. Published in Science. People's minds wandered nearly half their waking hours, and every time it happened, even on a pleasant thought, they were less happy than when simply engaged in whatever they were doing. Not thinking about anything makes you unhappier than thinking about almost anything at all. That's why you've checked your phone since starting this video. Nothing was there. You checked anyway, an ancient foraging alarm firing in a body with nowhere left to forage. It isn't an accident. Researcher Natasha Schull found slot machine designers engineer exactly this. An uncertain variable reward that keeps a nervous system checking long after any real interest has faded. Every pull to refresh, every notification dot is aimed at the same circuit that once sent your ancestors out looking for the next fruit tree. It doesn't know the difference between a berry bush and a feed. And here is the part that should actually worry you. Not everyone carries the same amount of this alarm. In 1986, psychologists built the boredom proneness scale to measure it, and people who score highest are significantly more likely to struggle with substance abuse and compulsive gambling. In 2010, epidemiologists Annie Britton and Martin Shipley followed more than 7,000 British civil servants for 2 decades in the International Journal of Epidemiology. Those who reported high boredom in the 1980s were significantly more likely to have died by the 2009 follow-up, many from cardiovascular causes, even after adjusting for depression and job strain. Boredom wasn't decoration. It was statistically dangerous to sit inside for long enough. It is a full biological alarm inherited from ancestors for whom stillness meant a wasted season, a starving winter, still ringing at full volume inside people who will never once go hungry. Romans called it tedium vitae, weariness of life. Medieval monks, alone in their cells, described a spiritual exhaustion they called acedia, and some abandoned their vows just to escape it. Different centuries, different languages, different gods, the same trapped wanting stillness. Somewhere back on a savannah that no longer exists. Something built an alarm to keep a restless animal moving toward the next resource, the next reason to keep going. That savannah is gone. The alarm is still yours. It is ringing right now, quietly, underneath. Whatever you're about to do the second this video ends, the same restless pull that once meant survival, with nowhere left to walk,